Well, today I am going to remember my old friend of the dog world, Mr. Chatterjee Cama, a director at Mumbai Samachar, the oldest Indian newspaper in print, who died on Saturday, the 3rd of July, 2020. Mr. Cama was in his 60s and was active in the family publishing business. He was a former trustee of the Bombay Parsi Panchayat, was also resident of the Walkeshwar in South Mumbai. Founded in 1681, the Bombay Parsi Panchayat is the apex body representing the Parsi Zoroastrian community in Mumbai and is among the oldest charitable trusts. He was keenly interested in history, languages, and linguistics. Mr. Cama was on the board of several charities and was particularly interested in enhancing educational standards of the less fortunate and helped provide medical treatment for the poor. Mr. Cama was a great ambassador of the Indian dog world, and he was a hobbyist, and he came and he gave the Indian dog world a lot of honor and prestige. Wherever he went, the shows that he judged, they were different. He was not one of those judges who could be in any way influenced. Nobody could dare go near Mr. Cama to try and influence him or, do whatever that they're so used to in the Indian dog world. Well, it's unfortunate that such persons were never promoted by the syndicate because it did not fulfill the interests of the syndicate. So anyway, Mr. Cama, I'm sure, will be remembered by a lot of people who've had the opportunity of coming to know him. I, for one, will never forget him. Was a great person and a nice friend. I always enjoyed interacting with him wherever it was. Whether it was on a telephone call or whether it was if I met him at a show or whatever. He was such a great, pleasant personality. Listen to what I have to say about him and some incidents just to remember him.
Hello and welcome all of you to my YouTube channel, Animals and Pets with Partha. Today I am going to talk to you about late Chatterjee Cama, an international judge in our panel of Indian Kennel Club, and I have happened to know him for many years and have been extremely impressed by his very versatile qualities that he possessed. Mr. Cama, he actually was a director in the Mumbai Samachar, the oldest newspaper in the country, first published in 1822. He was a trustee of the Bombay Parsi Panchayat, which was actually the apex body for the Zoroastrian society in Mumbai. And Mr. Cama was very much involved in the dog world. He had his he was a part of the Bombay Presidency Kennel Club, a very prestigious kennel club for which I have judged on several occasions. Mrs. Sheila Naharwar, late Sheila Naharwar, was also a dear friend of mine, and she has invited me many times. First time when I went, there was a very grand old lady as the president, Mrs. Perrin B. Albles, and I remember having stayed in her residence when I had gone to judge at that time. And Mr. Cama, of course, came to pick me up to take me to the dog show. And the first thing when I hopped onto his car, and he gave a big smile. He was always smiling. He was a very smiling, very happy-go-lucky man. And he said, well, he was really, really fat. He was really, really huge. And he knew about it. And he knew that, you know, if that his physique was so different than normal people that he would be and he stood out in a crowd that people would look at him and, you know, to think something. So the first thing that he said was, Mr. Chatterjee, that's how he spoke, Mr. Chatterjee, you see, when I wear clothes, they get ironed themselves. So, you know, he was so huge in his hand, you know, all his clothes, so it was actually fitted tightly on his body. So he says, whenever he wears some clothes, they just get ironed themselves. So anyway, that was my first introduction to this person, and later on, of course, I had several occasions to meet him later at dog shows, and I had long hours of interaction with him. Another time I will tell you, when he was giving his examination more than 2 decades back in Mysore under very famous All-British judge, Mrs. Helen Ferber of Australia, and I was one of her co-judges. So there also, he was extremely brilliant. He knew all his standards by heart, as if he had a very photographic memory, and he could tell his standard with commas and full stops and things like that. So that was the brilliance of his mental setup. Then later on, I had one more occasion to spend quite a lot of time with him in Nasik. The Bombay Presidency Kennel Club had actually was sponsoring a show in Nasik. The Nasik people had organized a dog show which was going to be run by the BPKC. And we drove from Mumbai to Nasik and my companion was Mr. At the Nasik show, Mr. Cama actually was my ring steward. He wrote the judge's book. He did all the announcing for the dogs to come in, and then of course he announced the placements. So it was a big show with about 300 dogs, and Mr. Cama single-handedly sitting on the microphone in the official table, could manage the entire show. And I will just tell you a very funny incident, which I was very amused about it, because during the lunch hours we had to go to the washroom. So it was a big area. It was a school, I think. And yes, it was a school campus, and then we had to walk away to the museum building which they had, where there was the washroom. So as we were walking towards that place, we came to a ditch, and on that ditch there was a plank, and the plank, was quite a strong plank for us to walk. Instead of going down the ditch and coming out from the other side, which is, and Mr. Cama was a huge man. He was at least 150 to 200 kilograms in body weight. And he knew that how heavy he was, and, so when he came to the plank, he briefly stopped, but without any expression, he asked me to go ahead first. And I went across, and then I was thinking, what he's going to do. Well, Mr. Cama was not perturbed. What he did was he came up to the plank, and then he looked up, and he started whistling to himself and looking at the sky. He walked, quickly, when briefly he crossed across of course the plank went down like this, it sloped down, and then he really crossed it, and that wooden plank took his way. That was brilliant. And he knew that if he didn't stop, that plank would. So he kept us sort of a rhythm, and he walked across and he looked at the sky, maybe telling God that see that the plank doesn't break and fall. So he was a brilliant personality. And then he judged in many shows in the country, not some of the clubs, of course. See, everybody knows, and I would tell you that he never ever took a penny from any club for going to judge. He paid his own expenditure for travel, his office arranged it, his own hotel stay, his own fooding and everything. Even the transport to the dog show was paid by him. The maximum that one club could oblige him was maybe a bottle of cold drink or something that he might have at the show, have had at the showground. So in his entire life, Mr. Cama was a great friend of the dog world, and any club which was in financial stress, they were thinking how to master the expenditure because they thought if they called Mr. Cama, there was no expenditure at all. And of course, he did judge a lot of shows, and he was very good in judging. And I'm sure, see, for me, he was excellent. And he was extremely honest, because he had nothing to take. He didn't. Money couldn't be used. He was very filthy rich man. And I have also seen him in several times. I think 1 or 2 times I met at the airport. He was in Calcutta, and he said, he had come to take fight some court cases and take some money from the government, because they owned a lot of coal mines in the earlier days, which finally the government had taken over and nationalized them. So Mr. Cama had to come to Calcutta to sort of take the government compensation. He was really rich, so he did not expect the dog world to pay him even a rupee for his travel to his travel stay or anything at all in his entire life. He was nobody could influence him. Means nobody was his friend when he went into judge. And if he decided that he liked some dog, and if it belonged to somebody who was no one in the dog game, it didn't matter. He would put that dog up, and since it was a single man show, who would take the dog from the ranks of ordinary, may not be a champion, whatever, from the classes to the best in show, Mr. Cama would do it, and do it in style, and he wouldn't bother what people said. So he was a great personality. I have always admired him, and today he's no more, but I still want to remember him, and remember him to the entire community of dog lovers of this country, that we have had some wonderful. And as I was saying, that he was extremely brilliant as a judge, and in his society also. So with these words, I end my episode tonight. I will, of course, bring you a lot of episodes where I will be remembering the great old people of the dog world of India, who have made a significant contribution to the growth of the Indian dog world. Thank you. And one last word, that please, judges, this is the integrity that Mr. Cama had, that he was unparalleled. Nobody could influence him. I hope the judges of today, who've been approved by the syndicate, whatever may have been, but it's a small world. If you are an honest judge, a sincere judge, and a good judge, people will remember you, otherwise people will reject you. Thank you and bye. Good night. And see you again at my next episode. Kindly subscribe, press the bell button, and like and share.